I was sitting in the boardroom of the company I'd built from nothing, surrounded by lawyers and accountants, my hand hovering over the signature line that would transfer $3 billion worth of assets to my son. 42 years of work, 42 years of sacrifice, 42 years of 16-hour days, and missed birthdays and sleepless nights, all about to become his. My phone buzzed. I almost ignored it. We'd specifically asked everyone to silence their phones for this momentous occasion. But something made me look. An unknown number. A text message with just 4 words. Check the basement. Now! My son, Derek, sitting across from me in his $1,000 suit, noticed my hesitation. Something wrong, Dad? His smile was perfectly practiced. Perfectly fake, I would later realize. Just sign it. Let's make this official. Let's celebrate. I looked at that text again. Check the basement. We were on the 42nd floor of our corporate headquarters, the building I designed and built 20 years ago. The basement was storage. Old files. Nothing important. But something in my gut, that same instinct that guided every major business decision I'd ever made, told me to listen. I need 5 minutes, I said. Standing up, the room went silent. Derek's smile faltered. Dad, we have a schedule. Everyone's here. The press is waiting. Just sign the papers in 5 minutes. I repeated, and I walked out of that boardroom, took the elevator down 43 floors, and opened a door I hadn't opened in 5 years. What I found in that basement didn't just stop me from signing my company over to my son. It destroyed him completely, and it saved everything I'd ever built. Before I tell you what was in that basement, before I reveal who sent that text and why, you need to subscribe to this channel right now. Because this isn't just about betrayal. It's about a father who almost made the biggest mistake of his life. About a son who thought he could fool everyone. And about the person who risked everything to tell me the truth. Hit that subscribe button. You want to see how this ends. Let me take you back so you understand how we got here. My name is Victor Castellano. I'm 71 years old. I built Castellano Industries from nothing. Started in 1981 with a $5,000 loan from my uncle and an idea, manufacturing industrial equipment that didn't break down every 6 months. I worked out of a garage, did everything myself: sales, engineering, deliveries, bookkeeping. My wife, Maria, worked as a nurse during the day and helped me with paperwork at night. We had 2 children. Derek, born in 1983, and Sophia, born in 1986. We raised them in a small house in Queens. Nothing fancy, but it was ours. The company grew slowly, very slowly. It took me 10 years to get to 20 employees, another 5 to hit 50. But I was building something solid, something that lasted, something I was proud of. By the time Derek was in high school, we'd moved to a bigger house. Not a mansion, just a regular suburban home. But the kids had their own rooms. We took vacations. Life was good. Derek was always ambitious, always watching me, asking about the business, wanting to understand how it worked. I was proud, thought he'd inherited my drive, my work ethic. I encouraged it, brought him to the factory on weekends, showed him how everything worked, introduced him to clients. He soaked it all up. Sophia was different, quieter, more interested in art and literature than balance sheets. She went to college for graphic design, started her own small agency, did well for herself, never asked me for money or favors, just built her own thing. Derek wanted the company. Made it clear from age 16 that he expected to take over someday. I didn't discourage it. Why would I? It's every father's dream, right? To build something and pass it to your son. To create a legacy that outlives you. So I paid for his business school. Harvard. Brought him into the company as soon as he graduated. Started him in sales like I'd started. Wanted him to learn from the ground up. But Derek didn't want to start at the bottom. He resented it. Thought his degree and his last name entitled him to a corner office immediately. We fought about it. He accused me of not trusting him, of treating him like a regular employee instead of the heir. I told him trust is earned, that he needed to understand every part of the business before he could run it. He didn't like that answer, but he stayed. And slowly, over 15 years, he worked his way up. By the time Derek was 40, he was my COO, Chief Operating Officer, second in command. He'd proven himself, I thought. The numbers looked good. Clients liked him. Employees respected him. He'd married a woman named Veronica, ambitious, polished, from old money. They had 2 kids. Lived in a house in Connecticut that cost more than most people make in a lifetime. He seemed happy, successful, ready. Last year, I turned 70. Started thinking about retirement, about legacy, about what happens to the company when I'm gone. Maria had passed away 3 years earlier. Cancer, losing her broke something in me. Made me realize I didn't want to die at my desk like so many men I'd known. I wanted time. Time to travel, to read, to visit Sophia and her kids, to actually live instead of just work. So I made a decision. I'd transfer the company to Derek on my 71st birthday, make it official. Let him run it while I was still around to advise, but young enough to enjoy retirement. I announced it to the board 6 months ago. Everyone seemed supportive. Derek was overjoyed. Threw a celebration dinner. Made a speech about honoring my legacy and taking the company to new heights. It all seemed perfect, but then small things started bothering me. Little things I couldn't quite name. Derek started having private meetings I wasn't included in. When I'd ask about them, he'd say they were just routine operations. Nothing for me to worry about. He started pushing me to finalize the transfer sooner. Why wait, Dad? Let's do it now. Let's make it official. I'd tell him we had a plan, a timeline, but he kept pushing, getting more insistent, more irritable when I didn't immediately agree. Then there were the financial reports. Nothing dramatically wrong, but small inconsistencies I couldn't explain. Money moving between accounts in ways that didn't quite make sense. When I'd ask Derek about it, he'd have explanations, good explanations, but something felt off. Sophia noticed too. She didn't work for the company, but she knew me, knew when I was worried. Dad, she said over dinner one night, are you sure about this? About giving Derek everything. He's my son. I said, he's worked for this. Has he? She asked quietly. Or has he just waited for it? That question haunted me, but I pushed it aside. He was my son, my heir. This was the plan. Then came my birthday, September 15th, the day we'd scheduled the official transfer, the day all the lawyers and accountants and board members gathered in that conference room, the day my phone buzzed with that text. I took the elevator down to the basement, used my master key to open the storage area. Rows and rows of filing cabinets and boxes, mostly old records we had to keep for legal reasons. I hadn't been down here in years. Everything was digitized now, but the text had been specific. Check the basement. I walked through the aisles, not knowing what I was looking for. Then I saw it, a filing cabinet in the back corner. The lock had been broken recently. Fresh scratches on the metal. I opened it. Inside were folders. Dozens of them. I pulled one out, started reading, and felt my blood run cold. They were contracts, agreements, all dated within the last 6 months, all signed by Derek. Agreements to sell off divisions of the company, to offshore manufacturing, to lay off 70% of our workforce, to sell our patents to a Chinese conglomerate, to essentially strip the company for parts and sell everything valuable. There was more. Financial documents showing Derek had been systematically embezzling money for 3 years. Small amounts from multiple accounts, totaling over $40 million, funneled through shell companies, offshore accounts, all in his name and Veronica's. There were emails printed out between Derek and corporate raiders, between Derek and competitors, between Derek and lawyers discussing how to maximize liquidation value. Once he had full control, my son, my own son, wasn't planning to run the company. He was planning to destroy it, to sell everything, to walk away with billions while thousands of employees lost their jobs. While the thing I'd spent my life building was carved up and sold off like scrap metal. I stood in that basement, holding evidence of my son's betrayal, and I couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't process how this was real. If you've ever been betrayed by someone you trusted completely, hit that like button right now. And tell me in the comments, would you have gone back upstairs? Would you have confronted him? Because what I did next changed everything. I pulled out my phone, called my personal attorney, not the company lawyers upstairs, my private attorney, a man I'd known for 30 years. Michael, I said, my voice shaking, I need you at headquarters. Now, bring someone who specializes in fraud. Don't tell anyone you're coming. Victor, what's wrong? Just come. Basement level. Use the service entrance. While I waited, I took photos. Every document, every email, every contract. Hundreds of photos. Uploaded them to a secure cloud drive. Sent copies to my personal email. Made sure this evidence couldn't disappear. Michael arrived 20 minutes later with a forensic accountant. They looked at everything. Their faces told me what I already knew. This was real. This was prosecutable. This was devastating. Victor, Michael said quietly, if you'd signed those papers upstairs, Derek would have had complete control. He could have executed all of these agreements within days. By the time anyone knew what was happening, it would have been too late. Who sent the text? I asked, who knew about this? We need to find out, Michael said. But first, we need to stop that signing. We rode the elevator back up. The accountant stayed behind, cataloging everything, photographing, building a case. When I walked back into that boardroom, Derek stood up. Finally, we thought you'd fallen in. He was smiling, joking, completely confident. Everyone else looked uncomfortable, waiting. We're not signing today, I said calmly. The room erupted, lawyers asking why, board members confused. Derek's face went from confusion to anger. Dad, what are you talking about? Everything's ready. We have a schedule. I said no. My voice was steel. Derek's lawyer leaned over, whispered something to him. Derek's face flushed red. This is ridiculous. You can't just change your mind. We have agreements. Press releases ready. You promised. I promised to leave my company to someone who will protect it, I said, not someone who plans to destroy it. The room went dead silent. Derek's face went white, then red, then white again. I don't know what you're talking about. The basement, I said simply. 42 years of records, including some very recent additions. Derek's eyes flickered, just for a second. But I saw it. Panic. He recovered quickly. Dad, I think you need to sit down. You're not making sense. The stress of today, show them, I said to Michael. My attorney pulled out his laptop, connected it to the conference room screen, and started displaying the photos I'd taken, the contracts, the emails, the bank records, page after page of evidence. Derek tried to leave, actually stood up and headed for the door. Sit down, I said, or I call the police right now. He sat. His lawyer was frantically whispering. The board members were staring at the screen in horror. These were people who'd worked with me for decades, who'd built this company alongside me, and they were seeing proof that my son had planned to destroy it all. You were going to sell everything, I said, looking at Derek. Lay off 3,000 people. Offshore the manufacturing. Sell our patents to competitors. Walk away with $2 billion while this company I built with my hands, ceased to exist. You don't understand, Derek said, his voice desperate now. The company's not growing like it used to. The market's changing. This is smart business. Maximizing value. You're too old to see. I see, perfectly, I interrupted. I see that you embezzled $40 million. I see that you've been planning this for years. I see that you never wanted to run this company. You just want to cash it out. You can't prove anything, Derek said, but his voice shook. Actually, said the forensic accountant, entering the room, we can prove all of it. The financial transfers are traceable. The contracts are signed. The emails are authenticated. This is textbook corporate fraud. Derek looked at his lawyer. His lawyer looked at the evidence on the screen and slowly closed his briefcase. I can't help you with this, the lawyer said. This is criminal. Derek's face crumbled. Dad, please. We can work this out. I made mistakes, but I'm your son. You can't. You're right, I said. You are my son, which makes this hurt more than anything I've ever experienced. But that doesn't change what you did, what you were going to do. What happens now? Asked one of the board members. Now, I said, we call the police, file charges, and figure out who sent me that text. Because someone in this building knew what was happening and tried to stop it. Dad, wait, Derek pleaded. Think about the family. Think about Mom's memory. Think about your grandchildren. You send me to prison. You destroy them too. You should have thought about that, I said, before you decided to destroy 3,000 families by selling their jobs overseas. Before you stole from the company your mother and I built. Before you betrayed everything we taught you. I pulled out my phone, called the police, told them we had evidence of embezzlement and fraud, told them to send detectives. Derek started crying, actually crying. Please, Dad, please. I'll give it all back. I'll cancel everything. I'll leave. Just don't do this. But I'd already made the call. Within an hour, detectives arrived, took statements, reviewed evidence. Derek was arrested, led out of the building in handcuffs in front of the employees he'd planned to betray. The press, waiting outside for the big announcement of the company transfer, got a very different story. My son's face on the news, not as the new CEO, as a criminal. The investigation took months. They found everything. The shell companies, the offshore accounts, the agreements with corporate raiders. Derek had been planning this for 5 years. Since before I'd even announced my retirement. He'd just been waiting for the right moment, waiting for me to trust him enough to hand over control. Veronica was involved too. She'd helped set up the accounts, benefited from the embezzlement. They charged her as an accomplice. Derek took a plea deal, 15 years in federal prison. Veronica got 7. They forfeited everything. The house, the cars, the offshore money, all of it seized. Derek's kids, my grandchildren, went to live with Veronica's parents. I tried to maintain a relationship with them, but it was complicated. How do you explain to a 10-year-old that Grandpa sent Daddy prison? But I still didn't know who sent that text, who had saved my company, who had risked everything to warn me. The detectives traced the number. Burner phone, bought with cash. No way to track. So I did something else. I called a company-wide meeting. All 3,000 employees, gathered everyone in our warehouse, and I told them everything. Told them about Derek's plan, about what would have happened if I'd signed those papers, about how someone had warned me. I don't know who sent that text, I said, looking out at the sea of faces, but you saved this company. You saved 3,000 jobs. You saved 42 years of work, and I need to thank you. The room was silent. Then, slowly, someone in the back raised their hand. A woman. I couldn't see her clearly. People parted, let her walk forward, and my heart almost stopped. It was Sophia, my daughter. It was me, she said quietly. I sent the text. Sophia? I could barely speak. How did you know? I hired a private investigator 6 months ago, she said. When you first announced you were leaving the company to Derek, something felt wrong. The way he was pushing you, the way he acted. So I had him followed, had his finances investigated. It took months, but we found everything. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Because I knew you wouldn't believe me, she said, tears streaming down her face. You wanted to trust him. You wanted to believe your son was worthy of your legacy. If I just told you, you would have thought I was jealous, bitter, that I wanted the company for myself. So I waited until the moment when you had to see the proof yourself. I walked down from the platform, walked through the crowd, and hugged my daughter. This child I'd underestimated. This daughter I'd overlooked in favor of her brother. She'd saved everything. Thank you, I whispered. Thank you for being braver than me, smarter than me, better than me. The employees started applauding, slowly at first, then louder. A standing ovation for Sophia, for the daughter who'd saved them all. What happens to the company now? Someone asked. I looked at Sophia. at this brilliant woman I'd raised but never truly seen. I'm offering it to Sophia. I said, if she wants it. The room went silent. Sophia looked shocked. Dad, I don't know anything about industrial manufacturing. I'm a graphic designer. You're also someone who thinks ahead, who investigates, who takes action, who protects people. That's what a CEO needs to be. The technical stuff? We have people for that. But leadership, character? That can't be taught. And you have it. I'll need help, she said. Lots of help. You'll have it, I said. I'll stay on. Transition slowly. Teach you everything. But this company, if you want it, it's yours. What about the employees? She asked, looking at the crowd. What do they think? One of our senior engineers, a man who'd been with me for 25 years, spoke up. I think Victor Castellano built something great. I think his son almost destroyed it, and I think his daughter saved it. That's good enough for me. Others nodded, called out agreement. Sophia looked at me with tears in her eyes. Okay, she said. Yes, I'll do it. I'll learn. I'll work hard. I'll protect what you built. That was 18 months ago. Sophia is CEO now. I'm chairman emeritus. I come in 3 days a week. Advise. Teach. Watch her make decisions I never would have thought of. Better decisions. The company is thriving, growing. We've expanded into sustainable manufacturing, green technology, things I never imagined. Sophia brought in new leadership, younger, more diverse, more innovative. She kept the old guard who'd proven loyal, let go of the ones who'd been too close to Derek. She restructured everything, made it stronger, better, and she did it while raising her own 2 kids and managing her design agency. Derek writes me letters from prison, apologizing, begging for forgiveness, asking me to help him get early release. I haven't responded to a single one, not out of cruelty, but because I don't know what to say. He's still my son. I still love him in some broken, complicated way. But I can't forgive what he tried to do, what he would have done. Maybe someday. Maybe when he served his time. When he's actually changed instead of just saying he's sorry because he got caught. But not now. Not yet. Veronica divorced him from prison, took back her maiden name. Her family disowned both of them. The kids, my grandchildren, are 11 and 13 now. Sophia brings them to visit me sometimes. We're building a relationship separate from their parents. It's not easy, but it's something. Looking back, I realize how close I came to destroying everything. If I'd ignored that text, if I'd signed those papers. If Sophia hadn't been brave enough to investigate and smart enough to wait for the right moment, my life's work would be gone. 3,000 families would have been devastated. All because I wanted to believe in my son more than I wanted to see the truth. The hardest thing I've learned is this. Blood doesn't guarantee loyalty. Being someone's father doesn't make them good. Wanting something to be true doesn't make it so. I raised Derek the same way I raised Sophia. Same values, same opportunities, same love, but he chose greed, chose shortcuts, chose betrayal. That's not my fault, but almost rewarding him for it. That would have been. Sophia saved me from that mistake. She loved me enough to risk our relationship, to hire investigators behind my back, to wait for the perfect moment when I couldn't deny the truth. That's real love. That's real loyalty. Not the kind that asks for everything and gives nothing, but the kind that protects you from yourself. I'm 73 now. I still go to the office, still advise Sophia, still love what we're building together. But I also travel, visit old friends, read books I never had time for, live the retirement Maria wanted me to have. And I think about Derek, about the son I lost not to death but to greed, about the grandchildren growing up without their father, about the choices we make and how they ripple through generations. I hope he finds redemption someday. I hope prison changes him, makes him into the man he could have been, but I'm not holding my breath. Some people learn from consequences. Others just resent them. I don't know which one Derek will be. Maybe both. Maybe neither. But I know this. I'm proud of Sophia. Proud of the leader she's become. proud of the company she's building, proud that something I started will continue long after I'm gone. Not because I forced it on my son, but because my daughter chose it, earned it, protected it. That's the legacy I want. Not my name on a building, but the knowledge that what I built matters, that it helps people, that it's in good hands. If this story made you think about legacy, about trust, about seeing people for who they really are instead of who you want them to be, I need you to do something. First, subscribe to this channel. We share stories about betrayal, second chances, and the hard choices that define us. Second, hit that like button if you think Sophia deserved that company more than Derek ever did. And third, tell me in the comments, have you ever had to choose between family loyalty and doing what's right? How did you handle it? I read every comment. And if you want more stories about people who almost lost everything and what saved them, check the video on your screen. Thanks for watching. And remember, the greatest legacy you can leave isn't money or property or a company. It's people who know how to protect what matters. Trust should be earned, not assumed. And sometimes the person you overlooked is the one who'll save you. Pay attention to character, not just blood. Because family is more than DNA. It's who shows up, who protects you, who tells you the truth, even when it costs them everything. That's family. Everything else is just biology.